Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Lots to discuss this morning, including the headline, which is Manchester United and Erik ten Hag want Kante from Chelsea. We'll be talking about that. Also some developments, some might say, some might call it slow sports news. But a little bit of development around Frankie de Jong last night and a little bit more detail from Spain coming out. We've also got an interesting story on the I suppose, the enhancement of power that John Murtaugh's got at the club. Really interesting because I was talking about this last night. But so, you know, it sort of developed from that into the press, I suppose. And also, it doesn't look like we're going to get Paul Mitchell as our Assistant Director of Football. Somebody called O'Boyle. We'll be talking about him in a minute. It's not Susan. Is that Mrs. Brown's Boys? No, that's the one who won bloody Britain's Got Talent. Yeah, not that one. And also, what else is this we want to talk about? Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the game today as well. West Ham against Man City. It's a massive game. We need West Ham to win. Not win. We don't want West Ham to win. We want West Ham to lose because if they do win or get a point, they get closer to us to knock us in the Conference League. And of course, Liverpool have now won the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and if they win the Champions League and the League, they are going to take our treble and turn it into a quadruple and be the greatest team in arguably English football history. Darren, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. So let's fly straight into it. I'll pop it up on the screen for you now so you can see what we're talking about. But effectively, Manchester United are ready to make an offer for N'Golo Kante should his renewal talks with Chelsea go unsuccessful. That's one report there. There's actually another one which I can give you, which is from Simon Bates. I think it's Simon Bates, who's from The People, which is a Sunday morning paper in the UK. Erik ten Hag and Manchester United believe Kante still has plenty to offer, though, and can add quality to a midfield short on real gravitas. And the next line from him is this: Erik ten Hag wants N'Golo Kante to kickstart his Man United rebuild. The club believes he is an attainable target this summer. So we'll start off on Kante. I mean, look, Savage says get in. I say wait a minute while I have a think. If Kante's knocking on my door, I'm going to let him in because he's got a great smile anyway and make him a cup of tea. But do I want him to play for Manchester United? Do I want him to solve our problem? Well, look, as I've said many times before, Preston North End's midfield could knock on our door and do a better job than McFred, I believe. So, you know, we're almost going to, any Premier League midfielder we're linked to, we're going to say, yeah, we'll take them because they're better than what we've got. I do think you've got to look at, and Kante is 31. He's just turned 31. I've watched Chelsea a few times this season. They've had a bad season. We will do a poll on it. Actually, it's a good point, Ben. He's had a bad season this year. Chelsea have had a bad season as well. 31, I mean, he could play for another 2-3 years at the top level. There's no doubt about that. But you do also start to think about 31 injuries. He plays a very tenacious game, a very energetic game. Is that somebody you want at 31 as part of a Manchester United rebuild? If he's going to come in, who's working alongside him as a young player to learn from him? Do we have anybody who can do that? Fred's 29, Kante's 21, McTominay's not that sort of player. Not convinced Garner's that sort of player, really. I just don't know. But look, what I would say is, and it's very, very clear, Dej, thank you for your super chat there. The reality is that he has only got 1 year left on his deal, and if he doesn't sort out an extended deal with Chelsea, then Chelsea probably would look to move him on this summer because he would be available for free next summer at 32. I mean, so look, I don't think this is as far-fetched as the story may well be. In the UK, I've said this to you for years, that we do get some odd stories on a Sunday morning in the UK. We always have, even since I was like a kid, reading papers and stuff like that. The Sunday morning papers, whether it's on the front page or the back page, do sometimes have sensationalist headlines. Look, if again, it's a bit like what I said about Steve McLaren last night. If Erik ten Hag wants Kante, let him get Kante. If Erik ten Hag wants Sebastian Haller, let him get Sebastian Haller. You've got to back this manager. It's a funny one because I think even 6 months ago, we would have gone, God, get him, go and get him. But I suppose it evidences the intellect and forward planning and patience that a lot of United fans have got, that Kante could be deemed to be another short-term fix, whereas we know we need a long-term fix. And with all due respect, is Kante going to solve our midfield problems for the next 4 or 5 years? Probably not. He probably would do for a couple of years. So what's the contingency plan? But then we're assuming the plan is to build for the next 3 or 4 years. That is a major risk in itself, because you know fans, I know fans, there are certain United fans that aren't going to be on board for a 3 or 4 year fix. They'll say they are now, but give it 3 or 4 months and they won't be. So maybe Ten Hag looks at that and goes, yeah, look, I know it's going to take a few years, but to be honest with you, if I can do it quicker, the better. And that's the sort of player that comes in and makes our team a very good team very quickly. And to be honest with you, if you put Kante in our midfield with Fred or with McTominay or with De Jong, that midfield is way better than it has been for the last 2 or 3 years. And people will say, well, we shouldn't be doing this again. We did it with Matic. Matic is a very different player to Kante anyway. And Matic hasn't been a bad signing. So he's certainly done a little bit better than I thought he would. So it's interesting. Hand on heart, I'm not convinced that this is even possible. But he has got 1 year left on his contract. He's only just turned 31. I think he's only just turned 31, or he's about to turn 32. Maybe someone can confirm that to me. But that makes a big difference, actually. That does make a big difference. I'm just going to check that for myself. It definitely makes a big difference in his age, because... So he's 31. Yeah, he's just turned 31, 29th of March. So yeah, look, he's only just 31. He'd be 32 at the end of next season, 33 at the end of this. Yeah, you'd get 2-3 seasons out of him, I think. But look, you've just got to... If Ten Hag wants him, he wants it. If Kante joins United, he'll retire bullying the elderly and kicking over trash bins. I love him as a player and character, but I really don't know, says Akil. I think it's one of those, and look, our poll says 65% yes, 35% no, which I think is... I think that's a fair reflection, and ultimately I would put it down to, if Ten Hag wants it and United can do it, let's do it. But let's see. Contingency plan is Garner, De Jong and Garner in the future, says Nick. Well, I don't think you've watched enough of Garner, mate, because he's absolutely nothing like Kante. So I don't think Garner and De Jong as a midfield two has a future. I don't. I've watched a lot of Garner this season. I know a lot about De Jong. I don't think they complement each other as a midfield two. I really don't. I think you've got to have a more tenacious ball winner in there, and I think Ten Hag will want that. So I don't actually agree with that. I mean, somebody made a great point about Garner today, and this is going to upset a lot of you, but I read it on social media. I thought, you know what? You should always look at... I think it's so important this summer that we look at the positive and the constructive, not the negative. We don't want the negative. But like, if you see a signing, like let's say Darwin Núñez, 22, really exciting striker, got the lot, can develop into one of the best strikers in the world. That's the positive. Then the constructive, it's a big amount of money to pay 70, 80 million pounds for him. He's only ever played in the Portuguese league. He's only 22. He does have some areas of his game he needs to improve. Could easily come to the Premier League and be a flop. So you've got to look at the constructive. I read this thing today about Garner, and somebody was saying, I think it was United Cynical on Twitter, UTD Cynical. I think it was them. If it wasn't, check out their Twitter account anyway. But I think they said something along the lines of, if Forest go up, we could get a bit of money for Garner. And people are like, what? But actually, if Ten Hag looks at him and goes, yeah, he's a good player, but he's never going to be what I want, then surely it would be a good idea to sell him to Forest if they get promoted, or it's at least loan him out. I think that there's a lot of expectation being put on Garner because he's doing well in the Championship, but we want to do well in the Premier League. He's never played in the Premier League. Do I want him to be sat on the bench next season waiting for an opportunity, or do I want him to be playing regular Premier League football? I personally would loan him to a Premier League club, and I've said that quite a few times. I think this Ten Hag has demands narrative is the latest PR spin tactic by the Glazers. Okay. Ryan says Kante, Donny and De Jong, not a bad midfield, to be fair. No, it worked very well, I think. Hi Mark, how much would Kante cost and would you personally take him, says Lemon. Oh, you put me on the spot there. Do you think a player like Kimmich would suit Ten Hag's rebuild? I mean, Sam, for me, is one of the best midfielders in the world, so I would love Kimmich at Manchester United, and I'm pretty sure Ten Hag would as well. Welcome to the Members Club, Ben, and also to Rania. Super job Friday night, Mark, like a second season pro. Thank you, PT5. And yeah, I'm not gonna swerve that question. Daniel Kirk says Kante is a big no. Love him, however, his injury record is horrendous. So there you go, Daniel. I've been put on the spot there. So would I take Kante at Man United? Well, I think his price with a year left on his contract would be somewhere around 30 million. Maybe at 31 you might get him for 20 million. It's hard to tell, isn't it, with a 31-year-old? I mean, he is and has got a great reputation, so I'd imagine he'd be somewhere between 20 and 30 million with a year on his contract. Would I do that deal? Look, if Ten Hag wants to do it, let's do it. That's my line. Would I do it? Well, I'm not the manager of United, but I've been asked for my opinion. We've been asked for opinion. 68% of you say yes. For 25 million, would I take Kante? Probably would. I probably would, because if you can get something out of him, he is amazing. Bolmer, welcome to the Members Club. Do you think the potential Lewandowski move to Barcelona will help with our pursuit of De Jong, says Adrian? Well, you've moved it on lovely, Adrian. Thank you very much there. So that's the latest on De Jong. This is the latest on... sorry, that was the latest on Kante. This is the latest on De Jong. So Sam Wallace in the Telegraph is saying that Manchester United are prioritising the signing of a midfielder with Frankie De Jong among their targets. And also we had what I called slow sports news last night. Man United are working on the transfer of Frankie De Jong. Now, some people got really excited about this last night, and I've got to be honest with you, I didn't. Mason says, I think Kante will be amazing for us for 2 or 3 years, which will then allow us to strengthen other positions, says Mason. Clever point. And Flavio's been a member for 20 months. Mark from our loanies, who do you think has the better chance next season under Ten Hag? Chong, Ahmad, Palestri, Garner, or even Mengi? We need a centre-back. I certainly think they've got chances, and I think you answer the question by listing the players. I don't know out of those players, but there are a few that we could potentially be excited about. But I would throw in Garnacho, Mabry into there as well. Why not? Are they going to go on loan, or will they be straight into his first team plans? But yeah, I think one of the big things, and Daniel Kirk said it, and Box just said it there with Kante before we move on, is the injury record at 31. We need a player that's going to play 40, 50 games for us. Can he play 40, 50 games at 31 with the injury records that he's got? Maybe not. So, a couple of stories there from Sam Wallace in the Telegraph, and obviously Laurie Whitwell there in the Athletic, saying that United are progressing a transfer. Now, I got a little bit confused with this last night. I mean, I even put it on Twitter. Slow sports news, because Man United are progressing a transfer. Just in, Laurie Whitwell and the Athletic, Man United are in for... I mean, this was what Gerard Romero said on Wednesday. And this was what Fabrizio Romano, Simon Stone, Samuel Luckhurst, James Ducker all said on Thursday morning. So I just couldn't really understand why last night people were getting excited about Laurie Whitwell's post, which basically was more of the same. And then people go, oh, shut up, Mark. It means it's progressed further. What? It's progressed further than there's a 95% chance that he's coming to United, that United are working on a deal for... I couldn't understand what the development on the story was. It was almost like Whitwell's trying to be Ornstein or Romano, but too late. Like, you know, he's only just opened his emails up. It just felt slow to me. Now, on reflection, maybe the positive is, because we should always search for the positive, is that it's another journalist very close to Manchester United saying that we're working on a transfer deal. So I get that, but we have already had that with Simon Stone and a couple of others as well. So, look, I'm 75% sure we're going to sign Frankie De Jong. We are developing and working on a transfer, and we have been for probably weeks. And certainly we've known about it for the last 3 or 4 days since it hit the Barcelona journalist or source Romero, and then it's come through the UK press. So any other journalists coming out that were working on a transfer, like last night, and Sam Wallace has done it as well as Laurie Whitwell, is always a positive. We are definitely looking at him. De Jong, Donny, Kante and Bruno, good start, says Shook. And welcome to the Members Club, Malansky. And do you think Donny will go straight into the team as well, Mark, says Julian? Well, let's talk about De Jong, and then I'll come back to De Jong, to Donny. Too many Ds. So, in relation to De Jong, I don't think anything's changed. I don't think anything's going to change. Other than, over the next 7 days, until we play Palace, I think we're going to get more stories about United are really in for De Jong. United are pushing for De Jong. De Jong doesn't want to leave Barcelona. De Jong is starting to come round to Manchester United. De Jong would come to Manchester United if Barcelona want to sell him. De Jong's excited about working. These are the sort of stories I think we'll get over the next 7 days, next 14 days. Because I don't think this deal can officially be done until June anyway. And also I think that if I'm 75% sure that we'll get De Jong, 25%, the 25% that I'm not sure is on De Jong, and I've said that before. So I think that's where we are with this deal at the moment. And I think that. Look, there was another story coming out of Spain this morning saying that De Jong's preference would be Manchester City, but Manchester City aren't showing any interest at the moment. And I don't personally, if that was 2 or 3 years ago, I'd probably get more bothered about that than I am now. But if Liverpool want him, Chelsea want him, Man City want him, he's probably going to pick them over us. And I'm a realist. And I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, he's an idiot, why is he not coming to Man United? We've not been near a title in 10 years. We've not been near a trophy in 5 years. We are a shambles consistently. And we are a very unstable football club that's nowhere near winning major trophies. If Liverpool, who are, and Man City, who are, want him, he should go to Liverpool or Man City. I said the same about Declan Rice. I'd love Declan Rice to come to Manchester United, but I'd advise him for his career to go to Chelsea or Man City because there's more stability and there's more chance of development there. There's a leap of faith with Manchester United. So I'm not concerned by stories coming out that if Man City were in for him, he'd rather go and play for Pep at Man City. I don't blame him for that. But the reality is I don't think Pep's looking at him, and I don't think Barcelona really want to sell him there. So this to me looks like it's a one-horse race. And this to me looks like it's Barcelona and Manchester United working on a deal together that suits everybody. Barcelona want the money and they want to sell to us because we're not in the Champions League, so we're not a direct threat. Man United obviously want De Jong because Ten Hag will want De Jong, and Ollie would want De Jong, but obviously Ten Hag's got that connection. It's just about persuading De Jong to do it. And look, I think in a couple of lines, the reality is that Barcelona reluctantly want to sell De Jong to fund other deals. Manchester United desperately want to sign De Jong because he's a huge signing for Ten Hag and the club, especially the position and the season that we've had. And De Jong is sort of stuck in that position where sometimes you are in life where, look, you're not a bad player, you've not done anything wrong. If anything, you're being sold because you are a valuable player, and they need to sell somebody who is to fund other things. If Barcelona weren't in a mess financially, they wouldn't be selling De Jong. Hi Mark, do you think we should offer someone in exchange for De Jong instead of paying full, says Farhan? Well, you know what, Farhan, I think that's a great point, and I've not heard anybody mention it. I'm sure, or I would hope, that Manchester United have explored that, because we obviously spoke last night about the budget being somewhere around 120 million, and then we can increase that budget by selling players. And the assets that we've got are probably Dean Henderson, Anthony Martial, Eric Bailly probably makes you 60, 70 million quid. So you can knock that up to over 180 million pounds as your budget. But if you went to Barcelona and they said, look, we want 70 million for De Jong, and you said, well, look, okay, we'll give you, I don't know, we'll give you 50 million plus Dalot. You get De Jong for 50 million, and then you can go and buy Spence or someone like that. Now, I think I read something this morning that Dalot's part of Ten Hag's plans, but you could get creative. I don't think we will, but you could. Hammy, Steve, thank you very much and welcome to the members club. Appreciate that. But of course, on the De Jong story as well, we've seen this morning that Romano is talking about Lewandowski, and Lewandowski looks like he's going to go to Barcelona. Now, Lewandowski, if I remember, has got 1 year left on his deal. So he's in a very similar... Can somebody just clarify that? I'm pretty sure Lewandowski's got 1 year left on his deal. Therefore, Lewandowski's in a very similar position to Kante, where Chelsea either have to get him on a new deal or they have to sell him. So I think that with regards to that, Barcelona therefore have to pay Lewandowski huge wages. Hi Mark, love what you do over at United Stand, says Riddle, thank you. Appreciate that. I think I'm going to sneeze, everyone, so just be careful. Not that you'll catch the germs, I just know it can be quite loud. So I'm just looking in the chat here, my amazing chat, well, our amazing chat. Yes, he has got 1 year left on his contract. So That's good for us. We're not going to get Lewandowski, but so this is really interesting in the De Jong deal then, because we know that Barcelona want Rafinha, and if Leeds go down, they'll get him for, I think it's 25 million. So that they've got to find 25 million for Rafinha. If they want Lewandowski, Lewandowski's not signing a new deal at Bayern Munich because the wages aren't right and the contract's not right. He wants more than they're willing to offer in relation to the length and the wages. So Barcelona must have an offer on the table that is a longer contract, which is more money, and the wages must be more money. So that's money that Barcelona have got to find when their budget doesn't allow it. Like, they had to let Messi go because their wages were too much. So where are they going to find these wages for Lewandowski? Where are they going to find the money for the whole contract? And also, where are they going to find the however much money they're going to have to pay Bayern Munich? Because he won't be going for free. They will want something for that 1 year. And now I don't know what the price is that they want from Barcelona for Lewandowski with 1 year left on his deal, but Hazard went for £100 million with 1 year left on his deal. Now, granted, Hazard was in his 20s and Lewandowski's 33 or 34, so it could be 10 million. Could be 20 million, but they've still got to find the money. Barcelona haven't got any money. So straight away, if Barcelona are going to get Lewandowski, they have to have a sale in place. Because Chelsea might quite fancy Lewandowski. Somebody else might fancy Lewandowski. So for Barcelona to be working on, and I've not heard really anybody go into depth about this, but for Barcelona to be working on a Lewandowski deal, they've got to have been working on that for a while. And to be working on that for a while, they've got to have a contingency as to where they're going to find the money, because they cannot sign Lewandowski and keep the squad that they've got because they haven't got the money. And they'll be in massive trouble again with the authorities. So if they've been speaking to Lewandowski for a while about this deal and what they're going to give him and what they're going to give Bayern Munich, they've been speaking to us for a while about De Jong because they haven't got the money unless they sell De Jong or another player. So this is why I'm confident about the De Jong deal. I don't think on Wednesday Barcelona, contacted United and said, do you want him? I think this has been worked on for a while. And I think that's why Gerard Romero on Wednesday night said he's 95% certain this deal will happen, because I think it's been happening for a while and being worked on for a while, because Barcelona are working on other deals that they can only do if they sell De Jong. So I hope that makes sense. And yeah, look, Lewandowski or whoever else they're going for, it just shows you that they're actively trying to improve that squad, and it will be De Jong, I think, who gives way so that they can do that. People saying Kante will be Matic 2.0. Matic was not arguably the best CDM in the world and a constant Ballon d'Or contender no seasons before us, says Luke. Well, I've got a bit of porridge in my mouth there. The interesting thing, Luke, as well, is that, and I've said this quite a few times, and I don't know if I can do it, but I might be able to. Will it move? Yeah, so look, this is how I envisage Man United to play under Erik ten Hag. A midfield two. Forget the numbers and who it is. I think we've got De Jong and Matic there. But Matic, obviously, I don't know whether I can move Matic. I can, I think. So Matic traditionally would be playing in here as a holding midfielder on his own. Kante doesn't do that. Kante's not taking the ball off the back four and dropping in between the centre-backs at times and just basically wandering around shielding. Kante would play next to a De Jong in a two so that line collectively can be pushed up. And United can play a much higher line. Obviously, De Gea is not going to play that high. So Kante would work with what I think United are going to do, which is play a higher line with a midfield two. Will this make no sense then? They need to sell in order to cover the finances and then spunk it on a more expensive player, says Slow Sports News. Can't see Kante happening with no Champions League. Also improving youngsters like Rashford and McSauce, aren't they, in their mid-20s, says Salah Ahmed. Yeah, I mean, I read that, Salah. I did read that Ten Hag is looking to improve the players that we've got, like Rashford and McTominay. I think McTominay's, is he 25 this year or 26? So look, I think with that, it's some would say he might want to bring a magic wand with him. I personally think what I would say is McFred's rest in peace this summer as a midfield two. I'd be very surprised if we ever see them play again as a midfield two. Maybe in a Carabao Cup game, maybe if we get an injury crisis, but them as a midfield two are not going to be the solution. Hallelujah. I think sometimes unfairly, but certainly they have been symbolic of some pretty rubbish football at Manchester United over the last couple of years. and I don't see a future for them as starters. I think their future, and I've said it for a while, should always be on the bench. McTominay and Fred as your midfield bench. I mean, I still don't think that's good enough to win a title when you're looking at the bench of a Liverpool or a Man City or a Chelsea. But for a start, where we are, McTominay and Fred on your bench gives you some options. But I think that that's the area that will be unrecognisable next season. I think that's the area that Erik ten Hag knows he's got to improve, because it's the weakest area. Anybody can tell you that that Man United midfield is the weakest point. We have lost. I think if anybody was to say, what do you think is the single reason United have had their worst ever Premier League season? And remember, we might not hit 60 points. Our lowest ever Premier League total is 64. We've got 58. So if we don't beat Palace, we've not even hit 60 points, which is a disgrace. But if somebody said to most Man United fans, what's the single reason you've had the worst ever points total? And I would say it's because we've lost nearly every midfield battle we've played this season in the Premier League. From Norwich to Liverpool, from Southampton to Spurs. It's been Arsenal to West Ham. It's been the same. We've lost so many midfield battles. And if I can see it and you can see it and the whole world can see it, you can bet your bottom dollar that Erik ten Hag can see it. And we will see a very different Man United midfield next season. Now, it doesn't mean he might not start Fred. Maybe he'll start McTominay, but I don't think we'll ever see them starting together. De Jong would be like a forced marriage. I would rather buy a Neves or a Tchouaméni, says Dej. Look, I've got to be honest, Dej. I would love to see a story coming out that we're in for Tchouaméni. I would bloody love it. He's perfect for what we want. But I think you've also got to remember what I've just shown you there. That midfield two. This midfield two that I believe Erik ten Hag will play, which will dictate and force the press high up the pitch. I don't think there's a job for one holding midfielder. I think those midfield two are going to be working in tandem. Obviously, one of them is going to be more tenacious than the other, but I think they will work more in tandem as a pair. And therefore, I don't think we'll have one player sat back. Which is interesting, because I think if we'd got Declan Rice, it would have been the next development of Declan Rice. I know everyone thinks Declan Rice would just come and sit in front of the back four, and he can do that, and he does it for West Ham. But I think there's a development gear in Rice, where actually he does have some really good attacking tendencies as a midfielder. And I think in a midfield two, he would have worked well. But obviously, we're not gonna do that. I can't. Marco says just get McGinn and Neves. I'd be absolutely stunned if Erik ten Hag went for a player like McGinn, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. Is Donny coming back? Yeah, I don't know. Donny's loan deal is. I don't want to talk about this much, but Donny's loan deal, Martial's loan deal, they've been really bad. Really, really bad loan deals, haven't they? Whether it's through injury or not, they've not worked out that well, have they? So, yeah, I'm sure he'll come back. Let's just close this poll. 72% of you said that you would take Kante at Manchester United. So over 70% of you would take Kante at United. A story this morning that United are looking to bring Kante to the club. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's 31. If Erik ten Hag wants him, go get him, I would say. But I would have some reservations, certainly around his injury record and everything like that. I think Tchouaméni will probably end up at Liverpool, and I think he'd do really well there. Liverpool or Real Madrid. It's almost the Champions League final could decide it. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, I think United are looking to revolutionise that midfield, and I think we're going to see a lot of development on transfer stories over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we're not going to sign anybody over the next 2 weeks. Does anybody know what day the transfer window opens? Is it literally June the 1st, or is it like June the 6th or something like that? Because I think what we're going to see up until the transfer window officially opens is we're going to start to realise who United's targets are. And people will say, well, why don't we know who the targets are now? Because I don't think United and Ten Hag have actually sat down and finalised who they want. There's a big list of players, and we all know that Pau Torres and Darwin Núñez and De Jong and a few other players. We know a number of players who are on that list, but we don't know the priorities. We will know the priorities over the next couple of weeks, and the reason we'll know the priorities over the next couple of weeks is because Erik ten Hag and Manchester United will sit down and decide who the priorities are going to be. And when we decide who the priorities are going to be, we're then going to start talking to clubs and agents. And when we start talking to clubs and agents, they'll start speaking to certain journalists who will start putting it out there that we're in for players. So expect over the next couple of weeks, We're going to find out who the centre-back is, who the striker is, who the midfielders are that we're looking at. And that will happen over the next few weeks because United will know who they're looking at. Could Donny and Frankie de Jong work like Kovacic and Jorginho, says Salah Ahmed? Well, they never played together like that. June the 10th is when the transfer window opens, said somebody there. That's late this year, isn't it? Why is it June the 10th then? I presume the transfer window closes on August the 31st. That's a bit of a short window, really. So, yeah. But no, De Jong and Donny never played together as a midfield two like that. At Ajax, it was De Jong and I can't remember the name of the person, and then Donny was the sort of cam. So, I mean, look, he has played in the two like that for Everton, but I think you need somebody with more tenacity, really. So, yeah. June the 10th, the transfer window opens. A lot of people are saying June the 10th. So, yeah. Yeah. Is it because of the World Cup? Last summer it was June the 9th. Okay, there we go. There we go. It's normally on July the 1st. No, the transfer window always opens in June, Bryn. July the 1st is when a lot of contracts are up. So, yeah. Any news about a possible sale of the club? No. I don't know. I've completely ignored this story because it's not a story. I've seen other outlets talking about a sale and talking about Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and I'm just like, there is absolutely no story there at all. It's just pure speculation, and I'm not going to... Look, when it's transfers, I'm happy to talk about it, but I'm not going to play with people's emotions about potentially sale of the club when there's absolutely no prospect of it, because people just get frustrated, excited for no reason. I tell you where we are seeing some progress in the club, though, and I mentioned this last night, and it was in an article, I think, by Sam Wallace in the Telegraph last night as well, that John Murtaugh's getting more and more power, that he's been fundamental in bringing Rangnick to the club, and he's been fundamental in bringing Ten Hag to the club. And with the removal of certain people like Ed Woodward, he's getting more and more power now. Because Ed Woodward wanted to wake up in the morning and play the world's best game of Football Manager. He wanted to stick his nose into football matters. Richard Arnold has made it very clear that he doesn't want to stick his nose into football matters. So automatically, John Murtaugh, who's been in the job, he's been in the job for years, really, but he's as a director of football just over a year. His first 8 months in the job, he's got a CEO who wants to stick his nose into the football side of things. He's now got a CEO who doesn't. So he's got more power. And this has allowed Rangnick's position to become what it is, and Ten Hag as well. So this is a very positive. However, there has been a story coming out this morning about the director. Well, it's not a director of football role. It's more of a assistant. I feel like an office quote here. Assistant to the regional manager. Assistant to the director of football. So it's looking like they're going to go... Sam Wallace in the Telegraph has said that Manchester United have approached Andy O'Boyle, who's the head of elite performance at the Premier League, to fill the deputy director of football role, junior to football director John Murtaugh. So it's deputy director of football at Manchester United, Andy O'Boyle, who's the head of elite performance at the Premier League. I don't know much about this person, to be honest with you, so I can't say positively or negatively, but I do think it's disappointing. I don't think it's surprising, but Paul Mitchell, who a lot of people will know the name of, who obviously has been a really good sporting director at Southampton, at Spurs, at Leipzig, he's now at Monaco, he is available, and it's a shame, because I think that, look, I wish this O'Boyle person all the best if he comes in, and look, he may end up being better for us than Mitchell, but I think there's been so many positives over the last few weeks in relation to Ten Hag and you know, real positivity around the rebuild, that it would have been nice to get Mitchell in, because it just would have been another fan pleaser, wouldn't it? But we're not going to, I've said this before, we're not going to get everything that we want. I mean, a lot of people are not happy about McLaren. I mean, if that's what Ten Hag wants, I'm happy about it. So yeah, it would have been nice to get Mitchell. He'll probably end up at Chelsea now, and you know, he's more well known and everyone knows his track record. But maybe he wants a more senior role, maybe deputy to the director of football. He would be wanting to be the director of football. So maybe Chelsea are offering him the director of football role, and we're offering him the deputy director of football role. So maybe we did try to get him. He just didn't want that position. Hi Mark, are you coming down for pre-season? Says Nitin. I don't think I am, Nitin, to be honest with you. And the transfer market is expected to reopen on Friday, June the 10th. Though most international deals won't go through until July the 1st. Thank you very much, says that was from Butterbean, and welcome to Members Club Team VDF. I just want to give a shout out to our members, by the way. If you want to become a member, you get your badge next to your name like Birangi has got there, and it does change for every month that you're a member. But on top of that, we now have exclusive video content for our members where at the moment, each week we're putting up a video where we're analysing a certain transfer target. During the season, we do them as head-to-heads where we'll compare two United players or maybe look at a United player and how they're performing against a similar Premier League player or in Europe who's doing well to see where their weaknesses or strengths are. Our latest one's on De Jong, where we've basically compared him to Matic and Rodri just to look at his passing rate, his success on forward passes, the way he carries the ball, tackle success, etc, etc. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, you want to become a member like Dan, then you can do that by clicking the join button. Thank you for supporting the channel if you do become a member, and we are giving that exclusive content for you as a thank you. Of course, it doesn't impact on the 8 o'clock show at night, the 10 o'clock show, the transfer news, the previews, the watch-alongs. None of that will change for everybody else. Thank you very much for that. And we do sometimes gift out some members as well. I did about 20 on last week, so we'll give out some more this week. Vic, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. And O'Doyle with McFred, West Ham. Yeah, I just want to talk about this West Ham game very, very quickly as well. Welcome to the Members Club, Louis. So, Man City are playing West Ham at West Ham at 2 o'clock today. I'm doing a watch along on That's Football, so you can join in if that. I've got to redo a poll on there as well, which I messed up. If you know, you know. If you were watching the FA Cup final last night, I ruined one of the best polls we've ever done. I sort of do these, it's like a competition poll. We have 8 things in a topic, and they go head to head all the way through from quarterfinals, semi-finals to finals. So we were doing Manager of the Year, Premier League Manager of the Year, which you won't be surprised to know that there was no United candidate, and I messed up the final. It was really excited, and I ended the poll by accident, so yeah, we're going to redo that. Mark, how many loanees or youth will be in Ten Hag's squad in a year? Says VK. Well, that's impossible for me to answer. But I think there will be the similar sort of focus on youth and development to what there has been at Ajax. Will you or any United stand be at the Legends game? Says Luke, MUFC. When is the Legends game? Is it the 21st, is it? Which is... Isn't it? It's a week yesterday, isn't it? What's this bullshit on KANTE to Man United? I've been to the Legends game before and I found it really boring. I ended up just drinking beer in the concourse, so I'm not going to the Legends game. It was boring. But if you want to go to it, it's an experience and enjoy it definitely. I'm not selling it well. It's a good family event, and I didn't find it that great football, to be honest with you. What's this bullshit on KANTE to Man United? It's absolute crap and will never happen, says Mask. Okay, thank you, mate. Wish you'd told us that. Off topic, do you like the US version of The Office? I do, Daniel Kirk. I enjoyed it, to be fair. So yeah, Man City visiting West Ham at 2 o'clock. I'm doing a watch along for it, but it's got a massive, massive impact on Manchester United. Liverpool can still win a quadruple, which we do not want, do we? So we need Man City to win today. But West Ham, we do not want them to win because they could get ahead of us and chuck us into the Conference League. So actually, the biggest game of United's season is taking place today, and we're not even playing. So Man City against West Ham is a huge, huge game for us. Absolutely huge. So watch along at 2 o'clock on That's Football. Tune in. But if you're not tuning in for that, keep an eye on the score, because that's a massive game for us. And we'll be discussing that on the fan forum tonight, where we've got Ricky on. I'll be hosting tonight as well, so looking forward to that. But yeah, massive game. West Ham, Man City. If you haven't realised, it's huge. We need Man City to win to stop Liverpool winning a quadruple, and we also need Man City to win to stop West Ham putting us in the Conference League. I mean, the Europa League's bad enough, but we don't want to be in the Conference League. Anyway, so yeah, 8 o'clock tonight with the fan forum. Obviously, we'll go live, and if anything happens majorly on transfers anyway, and that's going to be the case between now and the start of next season. But we have got an 8 o'clock forum for you tonight as well. Did you see what happened at Carrington, says Scott? No, nobody did. That's why nobody knows who it was who was involved in the scrap. And yeah, I'll see you at 2 o'clock on That's Football. In fact, the stream is already set up if you want to go and get involved in the live chat there. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for all our new members as well. I think Vic was the last one. Dan as well. I think I've given everyone a shout out. Team VDF, thank you very much for joining as well. If you want to join and watch our exclusive video about De Jong and his stats and all that, click the join button. And I'll speak to you all in a bit. Thank you very much for watching.